Hey everyone, Jack Reeve here, Talk Norwich City, back for another video. I hope you're all doing very well.
Well, as well as you can be with the news that Emi Buendia has joined Aston Villa for a fee of around £35 million, a record signing for Aston Villa and a record sale for Norwich City. Big money transferring hands and a big player at the helm of this transfer. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of comments during this evening. It's a big day for Norwich City. It's a big day for Aston Villa. And I could already see the debate beginning in the comments. I had to jump on it this evening. The news broke around 5:30. It's happening. It isn't confirmed yet. That's thought to be in the next 24 hours. I suspect that will be an official announcement tomorrow. But Emi Buendia will be joining fellow Premier League team Aston Villa for a club record £35 million, with the potential for that to rise ever so slightly. Now, there's a lot to debrief here, isn't there? A whole lot, and there will be a lot of raw emotion from Norwich City fans this evening. We are talking about arguably the greatest player to ever wear a Norwich City shirt, and he's gone. He's gone on our return back to the Premier League. Welcome to all of you this evening. I hope you've had a lovely day. The sun's shining. That's a positive. Ryan Thompson. They've surely got someone in mind. They've let him go for under £40 million. Look, Ryan, thank you so much for the super chat, first of all. And if you are wanting to help the channel out this evening, then the super chat function is there. Let's start with the fee. So it looks to be £35 million with some sell-on clauses in there. I suspect we're talking about £35 million up front, with the potential for it to rise to maybe 40, depending on sell-ons. And I'm sure there'll be other add-ons in the clause, as there always are. But I agree, Ryan, it does feel low. It does feel low. And in terms of the future-proofing and the planning, I really hope that there's someone in mind. And I really do believe that Stuart Webber isn't naive enough to let our best player go and one of the Premier League's better players go without someone in mind. The positive, this could be a positive, I hope it's a positive, is the fact that Norwich City have let Emi Buendia go early enough before the Euros, and to bring a suitable replacement in before the Premier League starts and before pre-season starts. We don't want to leave it late. Now, in terms of Emi Buendia, in my genuine belief, there isn't a replacement who will replicate what Emi Buendia has done for us. He is the type of calibre that is irreplaceable. Whether it was £40 million or whether it was £60 million, you're not going to buy a like-for-like replacement to Emi Buendia. He's simply too good. He's too unique. He brought such a unique spin to Norwich City. However, £40 million, £35 million is enough to drastically change a squad. You know, that's 3 good quality Premier League players if you get it right. And that's the key thing here. This is a massive risk on Stuart Webber's behalf. He knows that the chip on his shoulder at the moment, and the criticism from Norwich City fans and also neutrals, is the fact that, yes, he's got us up twice and he's won the Championship twice and some of the recruitment has been spectacular, but he's yet to keep us in the Premier League. And Emi Buendia would have certainly helped with that mission. Now, there was always going to come a time with Emi Buendia, and there is still going to be speculation surrounding the futures of Max Aarons and Todd Cantwell. Let me assure you of that. There's always going to come a time when these players outgrow a club or other clubs come sniffing. And this was obviously the time for Emi Buendia. Now, I'm sure as this progresses and as more people start to speak on this, I'm sure there will be more stories. It didn't feel as if Emi Buendia was forcing a move. I mean, if he wanted to force a move, he would have done so before the Championship. And I know there was that slight uncertainty surrounding Emi's future and Todd's future at the start of the campaign we've just seen, but that seemed to go away. I suspect that there was a promise from Daniel Farke and Stuart Webber saying, look, get us out of the Championship and we'll look at things. And if you want to leave, or if a club comes in that you deem bigger than Norwich City with more opportunity, then you go. Am I surprised that Emi's gone? No, I'm not. He was always going to be the player that was going to be difficult to keep hold of. Am I surprised he's gone to Aston Villa? Yeah, I am. I am really surprised. I think if nothing else, it shows the complete shift in the English football spectrum pyramid. It seems balmy to me that Arsenal have been outplayed by Aston Villa, like genuine bids from both of the clubs, and Aston Villa have been the club that have come through. Now, I don't know whether that's wages. I don't know. I think there was the same amount of money on the table, so it probably came down to wages, and then it ultimately comes down to Emi Buendia and who he deems the best fit for him. Now, he's going to get guaranteed game time at Aston Villa, which is pleasing for him and pleasing for his development. But he obviously deems Aston Villa as a more exciting option than Arsenal, which seems a remarkable thing. Imagine saying that sort of 10 years ago. You wouldn't, would you? Arsenal were the powerhouse in England and Europe. So there we go. Big Red on the trail. Hello, mate. Thank you for the super chat. Can't we just say thank you, Emi? He was never staying. Clearly didn't bleed yellow and green. Villa is a strange move, but jog on. We need new heroes. Look, that's a very logical way to look at things, and I think in the preceding days and weeks, Norwich fans will be emotional, and rightly so. Like, one of the best players that that's ever put on a Norwich City shirt. But you're right. Like, I never thought that there was a replacement for Wes. We got Maddison. I never thought there was a replacement for Maddison. We got Emi. I don't think there's going to be a replacement for Emi, but historically, it's often showed that there is a replacement for your better players. It's a lot of money. It's a club record fee, and quite quite a lot more than the previous record, which was Maddison. It all depends what we do with this money now, doesn't it? Was Emi ever staying? I was hopeful. I must admit, I was hopeful that he'd give us a season in the Premier League and kind of do that thing where he gets us back to the Premier League and then has that joy of saying, yeah, I kept them there as well. Because I think he was good enough at this point to almost single-handedly change the fortunes of the football club. But you're right, Big Red on the trail. Like, football moves and it moves at pace. And I think the thing that fans often get frustrated about is the fact that how could Emi leave? How could he ever leave? Well, this is a natural progression for Emi Buendia, and I know that Aston Villa aren't an Atletico Madrid or even an Arsenal, but it's still a bigger club with clearly huge ambitions and a very wealthy owner. It's a step up on the ladder, and I know that will hurt as a Norwich City fan, but that's how football works, and that's how life works, and that's how careers work. If you get offered a bigger job and you see that career progression, you are going to take it. It's another argument whether Emi should have maybe waited for an Atletico or a European giant to come in, but he clearly deemed this move fit for him, and we are where we are. Declan, thank you, Declan, for the super chat. And not too concerned. We sold Maddison and became better. Yeah, I mean, yes, we did. I don't think that's a necessarily a fair assessment to draw with the Buendia situation. The thing we had with Maddison is we were just so reliant on him that there was a complete misbalance in that squad. We were a lot more balanced with Emi. He was a magician. We had players that worked with him so beautifully. Will we become better without Buendia? Well, it's hard to imagine it. Certainly, if you look at the stats where we've played over the last 2 seasons without Emi, it's fairly damning. Like, we haven't won many games with Emi Buendia not playing. And I know now that we'll set up differently and hopefully we'll bring in better quality footballers, but it is a big risk. Like, it's as simple as that. Norwich City could have said, you're not going. He had time on his contract. even if you're not happy, you're not leaving this football club for at least the season. They could have done that. They didn't do that. And it's probably the wise thing to do for the long-term future of the football club. But it is risky selling. And I've seen some people saying selling to a rival. I don't deem Aston Villa as a rival. Norwich City's rivals next season will be those fighting relegation: Palace, Watford, Brentford, Burnley. I think Villa are now like fighting for kind of Europa League places, certainly mid-table and above. I don't think we'll be seeing them kind of knocking about at the bottom end of the Premier League next season. But with that being said, I'm still surprised that Aston Villa is the destination for Emi Buendia. I really am. I've seen a lot of this as well, right? From Norwich fans and from neutrals. I've had a lot of, I think a lot of Arsenal fans texting me, mainly because they're frustrated that they haven't picked Emi Buendia up, and rightly so. They've missed out on a gem. Small club mentality, right? Let's pick this apart then. I get why you're saying it, Mark. I really do. I don't know if you're a Norwich fan or not. But what we have to understand here is you can't have the best of both worlds, right? We are a self-financed football club. It means that if we don't make money, we won't have money to spend and sustain the football club. We are not like a Manchester City, for example, where you can turn losses year on year because you have an extremely wealthy benefactor who will keep pumping money into the football club and leveling the balance sheets. We don't have that. We make money to spend the money. It's a self-sufficient cycle. And it means that when we produce good players, didn't produce Maddison, I know, but bought him, sold him for a profit. Murphy's came through the academy, sold for a profit. Jamal Lewis. I get it. It's frustrating constantly selling your best players, but you either have one or the other. You're this beautiful family football club who bounces between the divisions. It has a beautiful culture and a real mission, or you are a club owned by a very wealthy billionaire. You can't be a poor billionaire, can you? A billionaire who pumps money into the football club, and you often lose a bit of identity. So it's either one or the other. We are what we are, and we have to sell our players when an offer comes in that's attractive enough. We could have kept Emi, I'm sure we could have done, but the way in which the football club as a business is set up, this does make sense. It's as simple as that. We're looking at that from a solely financial perspective, though. But I agree, Mark, it does feel frustrating that as soon as we land upon a gem and we nurture them and give them opportunity, they go to a bigger club. That's frustrating. But unfortunately, that's how it is when you're a football club the size of Norwich City fighting in the biggest league in the world. There are bigger fish that will continually eat you. And that's what we've got at the moment. And we just have to trust the process. And it's incredibly daunting when such a thing happens like today, where you sell your best player. It's incredibly daunting thinking, who's the next Emi? Do we spend this £40 million effectively? And I know in the back of a lot of Norwich fans' minds, including myself, I am thinking of Duda. I'm thinking of Lucas Roop. I'm thinking of Ralph Farman. I'm thinking of these types of players who, when we did have a bit of cash the last time we went to the Premier League, we signed and they didn't perform. We can't do that again. We cannot do that again. And we also do have to give it a bit of a go this time. And I know we gave it a go. We certainly didn't give it a go financially last time. And we've lost Ollie Skip and we've lost Emi Buendia. And I suspect we will lose a Max Aarons or a Todd Cantwell or someone along them lines. So at the moment, we're significantly weaker going into the Premier League than we were last season in the Championship. Now, there will, of course, be, I hope there's going to be incomings, and I'm sure there will. I love Stuart Webber to bits. But sitting here on Saturday, the 5th of June at 6:45, we're in a slightly sticky place. It must be said. Mike Cockrell, good to see you, Mike. It's the Southampton model from years ago. Breed the youngsters and turn them into big profits. Yeah, it's right. I think Southampton have slightly more money behind them than we do, but it is that model. Now, how long you can sustain that is another situation, because you're not going to have an Emi Buendia every summer to sell, but certainly since Stuart Webber's been here, and even prior to Stuart Webber, we have had that constant churn of players. I mean, you look even back to Alex Pritchard and that type. What was that, 2016, 2017, like 5 years ago? We were still producing players for £10+ million. Robbie Brady, go back to him, like bought him, sold him for a profit. It's this flipping of players that we have become very good at. Does that mean you can compete in the Premier League? Well, so far, no, it doesn't. I mean, it was a woeful effort competing in the Premier League last time, that wasn't it? But there we go. There we go. Max Nichols, we're very similar to Brentford. Yeah, we are. It's going to be fascinating to see how Brentford approach the Premier League. I've seen people comparing us to kind of the Buendia situation to Ivan Toney, and people saying, well, Brentford are definitely not going to sell Ivan Toney. I don't think Ivan Toney's in the same caliber as Emi Buendia. I really don't. I mean, don't get me wrong, Toney's a brilliant player and he scored a hatful of goals in the Championship, but he's not at Buendia levels. I genuinely think, and I'm not just saying this because he's not even a Norwich player anymore, I genuinely think Emi Buendia will go on to become one of the best players in the Premier League. I really do. I see that talent in a squad that finished 20th in the Premier League. He was one of the finest players in terms of chances created behind like De Bruyne and Fernandes. Like at that kind of level, he's 2 years maturer from there. I think Villa have got themselves a bargain, and I know it's difficult to say that when you're talking of sums of money like we are, 35 million. But I genuinely think, give it a couple of years, and we've come out of COVID and everything, we're talking about a £60 million player. I really do. I mean, you don't get called up to the Argentina squad lightly. This is a bloke who's training with Lionel Messi at the moment. Like, unbelievable levels, and I'm just so grateful that we got to watch him for 3 seasons. I think it's very easy to look at it at the moment with a slight edge of bitterness and a slight feeling of what could have been. It's better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all, and that's exactly what we had with Emi Buendia. 3 seasons of utter brilliance. Some of the flicks, some of the tricks, the goals. The bloke scored 15 goals in the Championship. He's a midfielder. His statistics are remarkable. 30 goal contributions in the Championship. Just every stat you look at, you go, bloody hell. And not only a majestic attacking talent, incredible defensively as well. Like some of the best tackling statistics in the Championship last season. Just absolutely phenomenal. Really, really unbelievable. Martin, is it confirmed? No, it's not confirmed as of yet, but it will be. Everyone's got the scoop. I think it was Paddy Davitt first, about 5:30, Paddy Davitt of the EDP. But everyone's got it now. Telegraph, all the nationals, the internationals, the worldwides, they've all got it. So it will happen. Read my comments, Shay. There you go. I've read it. Gerald Taylor, Emi going to Villa does suggest that Grealish is off elsewhere. Look, I don't know, Gerald, the ins and outs of Villa. I had spoken to a Villa fan a couple of weeks ago when this rumour first surfaced that Emi could be on his way to Villa. And I said, does that mean kind of Grealish is out of the door? They don't think he is. I mean, Grealish and Buendia are in the same side. That's serious talent. I mean, I'm looking at these squads. Villa, on paper, going into next season, better than Spurs, better than Arsenal. Like genuine top 6 contenders now, if they can keep Grealish and add a few more names. And I think Buendia is mature enough to be looking at this as not just the next payday, but long-term kind of future-proofing. Like Emi Buendia is good enough to have interest from an Arsenal who, I know they didn't finish in Europe this season, but have genuine European opportunity. Emi is at that level now where he'll want to be playing in the UEFA Cup or the Champions League, and Villa have obviously gone to him with a plan and gone, this is this. Come and give it a shot. They've got money. I think it's very easy to look at Villa as kind of maybe not as big a club as they are, because they've obviously had the recent seasons in the Championship. But this is a football club that have won European trophies. This is a football club who, in my lifetime have played in Europe. So don't disrespect Aston Villa, but I'm surprised he's gone to Aston Villa. Maybe I'm disrespecting him in the very sentence, but yeah, there we go. Am I just seeing something in here? Someone might be having me on if this is true. Lots of speak about Matheus Pereira in the comments, that we're not going to be talking about incomings. I suspect it's going to be a very busy few weeks for transfer rumours. I've just seen an updated tweet from Michael Bailey. He says, believe the Emi Buendia to Aston Villa is a £33 million initial fee with £5 million of add-ons, plus a 10% sell-on. So a £38 million package plus your 10% sell-on. So let's hope he goes for 120 million in 2 years' time, and that becomes a £50 million fee. But call it 40 million quid we've picked up for Emi Buendia, which is, of course, a record signing for Aston Villa and a record sale for Norwich City. If you are just joining us, Emi Buendia has been purchased by Aston Villa for £38 million. Jake, I love your optimism, buddy, but it's not happening. Emi's off, I'm afraid. I hope you're right, though. I hope, Villa suddenly don't have any cash or something. There we go. Up the Villa, says AJ. Yeah, good to see the Villa fans in here this season. I think my main frustration with all of this, I think I'm a relatively rational football fan now, and I look at things from more of a business perspective, which is a shame because football's an emotional game. But I get everything about this transfer. The only thing for me is I'm not looking forward to watching Emi play against us. I really wanted to see him go to a Spanish club or a German club or someone. But he obviously wants to play in the Premier League, which is fair enough. But I did constantly have in the back of my mind, the ideal situation here is 45 million quid on the table from Atletico, guaranteed Champions League football in Spain. We haven't got to worry about playing against him. I can just already see it. The script is written, isn't it? We go to Villa at Villa Park, first day of the season. Buendia scores against us, sets the season off on a horrendous start. It's just going to happen. It's just going to happen. Nathan Baker, this is a good point. At least it happened early in the window and shouldn't have unsettled the camp as it would have done at the beginning of the season. Yeah, I think that's the positive here. I'm surprised at how quick it's happened, I must admit. We've seen the rumours for a few weeks now, but there hasn't really been anything firm for, a few days. It happened yesterday. Sky Sports are reporting that both Arsenal and Aston Villa had made a bid, but there are also reports from fairly reputable sources saying it's only interest at the moment. But yeah, it's gone through quickly. But that's a good thing because Norwich now have time to weigh up the opportunities, spend the money wisely, hopefully. And look, Webber's recruitment in the Premier League leaves things to be desired, but on the whole, he's been very good in the recruitment sector. I mean, this is the perfect example. We bought Buendia for £1.5 million, and it also has to be said, if you haven't been keeping your ear close to the ground recently, it's been confirmed that Norwich City bought out the section of the sell-on fee. So there was originally, I believe, a 20% of profit sell-on fee. So it would have been a very sizable chunk here, quick maths, 5 million quid or something. So hang on, is that right? Yeah, about £5-6 million. And that's now not happening. That's being dealt with. So the 38 million quid that's been quoted for Buendia is the money that will hopefully hit our bank account pretty sharpish. So that can then be reinvested. And I'm pretty sure that all of the incoming transfer revenue that we see this summer will be reinvested directly back into the squad, because I think Norwich know how important it is financially and emotionally that Norwich City survive in the Premier League this season. But already looking at the division, it's hard to find a weak club. Like, I know the Premier League is strong and it always has been strong, but I think that gap between Championship and Premier League is ever increasing. And even the clubs that are coming up with us, Watford and Brentford, have more money than us, arguably have better squads on paper than us. And the teams that are in the Premier League now, probably barring Crystal Palace, who've got a bit of a rebuild job to do, all look remarkably strong. So it's not going to be easy, and it becomes suddenly a lot more difficult when you lose your, well, probably two best players in Buendia and Ollie Skip, who's gone back to his parent club. So it's not going to be easy for Stuart Webber, and this is a big call from him. It's a big call that can't be underestimated, but that's why he's paid big money to make these big decisions. And I guess some decisions are unavoidable. Like, you have to make these kind of calls, and there was always going to come a point when Emi would outgrow Norwich City, and it's come now. Like, 3 seasons out of him, it's a good stint. He's done very well, and now he moves on. Lee Kiddle. Such a shame you won't be going for a title couple playing Champions League football. Look, maybe not in the first season, Lee, but I'm really liking what Villa are doing. I really think they're kind of back to their best. Like, and you look at the top clubs in the Premier League now. So you've got Liverpool and Man City, who are probably streets ahead of the rest. Maybe you can count Chelsea in that category now, having won the European trophy. But Manchester United, there's work to be done there. Arsenal and Tottenham are just not very good at all. Everton were knocking on the door, and I don't think they'll be as strong as they were this season without Ancelotti. Like, you've got the 2 elite clubs, maybe 3 elite clubs. I think the rest, I think it's wide open. I think if I'm a Villa fan, I'm looking at that and going, yeah, top 6, that's the aim. And clearly that kind of vision is seen by the board as well, who are throwing money at things. So they've seen their opportunity, and I think they're going for it. And Dean, Villa fan, giddy with the signing, as you should be, Dean. You should be genuinely giddy. Like, sometimes we sell players, probably like Jamal and the Murphys, Godfrey to a certain extent, and you go, like, yeah, you've got a good player on your hands, but you've probably paid the right amount. I think you've got a player relatively cheap here, and like a genuinely top class Premier League operator. And I know that people who don't like Emi, or fans who don't like Norwich, will be coming in here and saying, well, how can you say that when he's only got, one or 2 Premier League goals and a few assists? Trust me, he is Premier League quality. He was the last time he was in the Premier League, he was in a dross Premier League team, and his underlying data was phenomenal in terms of chances created and everything. And you just have to watch the bloke. Just watch the bloke for 90 minutes. He runs the gaff. He absolutely runs the gaff. He is a astonishing footballer, like a maverick. I've never seen anyone like him at Norwich City. Like, Wes was unique. Maddison was brilliant. Like, Pritchard was good, but Emi Buendia is in a completely different stratosphere to them guys. Maybe not Maddison, but the rest of them. It's a fascinating one. Pukki's runs make Buendia look better. Oh, look, it was a brilliant partnership. What was it? Pukki had 30 goal contributions, maybe more. Buendia had the same, like 60 goals contributed by them 2 last season. The cohesion there was absolutely stunning. Pukki's runs off the shoulder of defenders suited the way in which Emi Buendia liked to play beautifully. But I don't think Pukki made Buendia look better. I think they just complemented each other very well. I think Emi could play with any range of striker and find the best of them. Like, his vision, his movement, his ability to find the pass, his ability to work for the team and put in really crucial kind of ball-winning interceptions. I've rarely seen a player as rounded as Emi Buendia. There are, of course, like, negatives to Emi. Like, he's got a bit of a temper on him, and his disciplinary record isn't perfect. But I think even that's maturing. Last sort of 10 games of the championship season, there was none of that pettiness. There was none of that, sloppy challenge to get sent off. And probably because he knew he had to mature as a player to get the big money move that he has ended up getting. So there we go. We are and always have been a selling club. Yeah, and like, that's what we are. I don't even know. Is that necessarily a bad thing? I don't know. It's just the way in which we operate. And it means that we're financially stable and can have this constant churn of bringing through youthful players. If you don't sell your players, then you're not going to bring new ones through. And it creates a freshness about things. Like, I think there's positives and there's negatives to being a selling club. And everyone is a selling club to an extent. I think that the thing we have to get our heads around here, and I am gutted that Emi's gone, but I'm just trying to rationalise this ever so slightly in the way I'm thinking. And look, the way I'm thinking doesn't have to be the way you think. You can be upset and you can be frustrated with this kind of feeling that whenever we get back to a place where we deserve to be, we have to sacrifice our best players. The way I look at it is that I kind of look at it in the way of just general work life. And there will become a stage where you bring through your apprentice, and this apprentice becomes a really valued member of staff that generates revenue for the company and is loved by the team. But you can't afford their wages anymore. And they get an attractive offer from another company, and they go there because they see more career progression and more pay. That's how life is. That's not just how football is. So that's the kind of way I explain it in my head. Deep down, I am incredibly emotional and crying inside at the thought of Emi Buendia in claret and blue next season. But I'm sure in 2 years' time, we'll be talking about some players, some German number 10 who were desperately sad about them leaving as well. There we go. This is also the thing we haven't touched on, right? David Evans, love this from you, David. It was an incredible achievement to convince Emi to stay one more season. We had Emi Buendia, let me say this loud and clear, we had Emi Buendia in the Championship. It was a complete and utter cheat code. He is undoubtedly the best player to play in the Championship. And I know I've got a lot of Villa fans watching. I know they'll be screaming at the screen, Jack Grealish. No. Let me have this one, Villa fans. Emi Buendia was the best player to ever play in the Championship. There's no doubt about it. Wayne Rooney, no, I'm not having it. A full season from a player, it will never be topped. Emi Buendia last season was an absolute joke. He was good enough to play for a top 6 Premier League side last season. We had him in the Championship against the likes of Huddersfield, and he created genuine tears. There would have been opposition fans who were children crying because Emi Buendia was ripping through their defences like they weren't there. So, yeah, it was an amazing season. I'm so glad we got it. Declan Cotter, see, there's real nuance to all of this, isn't there? £40 million is a great price given the financial situation. Look, I think £38 million is a little on the low side. But on that point, Declan, yes, like prices are lower than they probably should be due to COVID. There's not as much spending power as there has been in recent seasons. And I guess like 40 million quid, let's just round it up to 40 million for the sake of it, for what is a player who's just been in the Championship is very high. How much did Nathan Aki go for? More, wasn't it like 50 million quid? But he just played in the Premier League, hasn't he? Which inflates things. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not buzzing about the price tag, I must admit. Especially considering the fact that Norwich had complete power over this. Like, long contract, a player who I don't think would have been kicking up a fuss had he not been allowed to go. But I've spoken about this before, and I'll say it once more. When you are a club like Norwich City, who prides itself on player development and bringing through young players and selling them, like Southampton have done in the past, you need to set a good impression for the younger players, the Omar Bamadelis of the world right now, and the 16-year-old players who Norwich will be signing now with the intention of playing them in 5 years' time. If you're a young player and if you're their agent, you need to be seeing this continuous churn, because it shows that when you get in Emi Buendia's situation 3 years down the line, your move isn't going to be stalled because of the club's short-termism, right? You need to see that when you get to the position, you will be allowed to leave. And I think that's a really important thing. And I think Stuart Webber's talked about that before. I think he spoke about it when Maddison left. Like, we could have kept Maddison if we desperately wanted to. You know, you could keep any player if they're contracted, but it's not necessarily the right thing to do. Look, it could have happened where we kept Emi against his will. I don't know what Emi's situation was and whether he'd requested a transfer. But deep down, he would have known that he was good enough for a bigger club than us. You keep him, he doesn't perform as well as you know he can. His value decreases. You don't get the best out of him. Nobody wins in that situation. Villa certainly win in the situation that we've got now. Norwich, due to a slight stance, because we've made a record sale, and £40 million for a club like Norwich City is unbelievable money. And hopefully money that will be used wisely. But I guess if the player sees a move that they deem big, there's not too much you can do. I really don't think that. Joe, J to the W. If we spend 20 million quid and finish bottom, I'll be seriously pissed off. We should be spending about 50 million quid minimum in improving the squad. Well, Joe, we've already spent the 20 million quid. And Yanulis and Ben Gibson, well, just shy of 20 million quid, about 16 million on them too. So we've already spent significantly more than we did last time we were in this position. So that's that. I can pretty much guarantee you that 50 million quid figure, I don't think that will be too far off. I think it will be in around that region. Certainly if we sell another one of the big guns. Now, unfortunately, I can almost guarantee you that in the next couple of weeks we'll be discussing Max Aarons' future. I think that's the next one to come into the press. I really do think that. Whether he goes, I don't know, but it will certainly be discussed, because I mean, he was being touted with Barcelona and Bayern Munich last summer, so I suspect there will be another big chat around his future. But I think, well, Webber has to give it a go. He has to give it a go from a selfish perspective. He can't be, well, he can be seen to fail in the Premier League because he is working on a relatively shoestring budget, but he has, and he will want to stay in the Premier League. I can assure you of that. But as is always said, the long-term future of the football club won't be put at risk because we've been there, we've seen it and done it, and it doesn't work too well. So we will spend within our means, but I think our means have increased. There's more money to play with here, but with more money comes more expectation and more risk. Because if you're suddenly spending 15 million quid on a player, 20 million quid maybe, there is great expectation that comes with that. And you only have to look at the amount of money it's taken a Leeds, for example, to stay and thrive in the Premier League. People kind of look at Leeds and go, well, they didn't spend too much. They spent 100 million quid. 100 million pounds, and even at times they were being outplayed in the Premier League. And I know they survived and they had a wonderful end of the season, but it takes big money to stay in the Premier League now. It's changed. It's changed from the days that we went up with sort of Paul Lambert and Holty was leading the line, and it was basically like a League One club on steroids at that point. And what did we finish, like 13th, 14th? Like you just wouldn't be able to do that now. You absolutely wouldn't be able to do it. Look at Sheffield United, another good example. Had a season in the league, spent considerable money on the likes of Sander Berg and Ryan Brewster and players like that, and capitulated. It's not easy. It's really not easy. Churchy, thank you so much for the super chat. Lovely to see you, my friend. Being more defensive next season, Emi, would be too much of a luxury. Hope you're well. I'm very well, Churchy. I'm very well, thank you. That's an interesting take. I think, well, Norwich will have to be better defensively next season because we leaked far too many goals last time we were in the division. I actually think Emi was a luxury in terms of like defensively. He did that duty of his game brilliantly, and that's why Daniel Farke loved him so much. Daniel Farke, we know all too well that he wants from his attacking players like defensive maturity, and he got that in Emi Buendia. He was always willing to track back and make tackles and support sort of the right back or the right midfielder on the pitch. But yeah, like we're going to have to adapt the way that we play. I think we were more defensively resolute in the Championship in the season just gone, but we're going to have to go that on another level, because instead of going up against Ivan Toney, who's the best player in the Championship, the best player in the Premier League is like Harry Kane and Mo Salah, players like this who, given half a chance, will score a goal. You don't get that in the Championship. It's a big step up. Lee Kiddle. Hello, Lee, again. I don't agree with the spend tens of millions for the sake of it approach, and I love our self-sufficient model, but we really do need to buy a couple of strong, established players to strengthen the squad. Definitely can't do what we did last time around. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I agree. I don't know who we're going to sign. I really don't. I don't think it's going to be a player that any of us are too aware of, put it that way. Like, I don't think we're going to go out and spend money on Josh King, for example, who's been a name that's been touted. I think it will be a player from the Spanish divisions or the German divisions that maybe aren't as popular over here, to try and hunt that kind of value and play that kind of money ball approach like Brentford and do under Matthew Benham and Brighton do under Tony Bloom, like almost a gambling kind of way of doing things, which you are gambling. It's a risk, but every transfer is a risk. I mean, I was just looking at Everton. Like, I know Everton are in the next level to Norwich City, but the amount of signings they have made, like £20 million plus signings that you almost have never heard of, because they've either not worked out, they haven't played, injured, etc. Norwich's recent example of that would be like Stephen Naismith or Ricky Van Wolfswinkel, which almost puts a club our size in financial disarray when you're spending £8 to £10 million on a player that then doesn't deliver. This happens all the while in the Premier League. If you're not spending like £30 million plus, and then even then, the transfers aren't guaranteed. If you're spending less than 30 million quid, there is a massive chance that doesn't work out. And if you are a Everton, for example, who has significant amounts of cash, you can afford to make a few of them wrong moves. If you're Norwich, you have to nail it. And that's the problem. You can do it in the Championship. You can sign 6 players and 3 of them work and 3 of them don't, because you're not spending sizable figures. But if you're suddenly doing it with 10 million quid and it doesn't work, it's all gone wrong. Big pressure on Stuart Webber and his recruitment team this summer to get it right. Big pressure. There we go. I think I'm going to leave it at that. I wanted to keep it solely on Emi Buendia this evening. We will make lots of content in the next few weeks regarding this and also where we go next. It's funny, actually, I'd organised a collaboration with Arsenal Fan TV because they thought they were getting him. So that's obviously off now. But yeah, lots of content in the aftermath to this. But Emi Buendia signed by Aston Villa for £35 million. If you're new to Talk Norwich City, welcome. Please do subscribe if you're an Aston Villa fan. You're more than welcome. It's going to be a mad summer and a mad season. So strap in and subscribe. You'll never miss out that way. Thanks to everyone who's watched tonight and interacted. Sorry if I haven't been able to answer your comment. And thanks to everyone that left super chats as well. That's very kind of you. Have a lovely evening. Go and enjoy the sun. Have a beer. And I'll see you all again very soon. Bye-bye.